My goal today is to create charts and reports in Scoreboard. I've already logged in and have landed at my homepage. Before I build from scratch, I'll review objects that have already been developed. On the primary navigation pane on the left, I'll select Charts and Reports. I'll then click on Mobile World and choose Select. I see a listing of 7 reports that have already been developed. At the top, I have a red KPIs report, which will show me only the most concerning performance for a given period of time. In the top right, I see that I'm looking at May 2019 activity, and I see that there is a list of KPIs in the red that I might need to drill down to get more detail on by clicking on the name. In addition to that, I can toggle in the top right to see month-by-month activity. And I'll just toggle back to April and then forward again to May. If looking at only red KPIs depresses me a little too much, I might switch over to the Financial Overview report, which gives me all performance activity for just financial KPIs. This provides month-by-month activity for the past year, and once again I can drive the last month in the report with the toggle in the top right. After reviewing a couple of the existing reports, I'll try building a few on my own. To start, I'll select the New Report button up at the top. I immediately get prompted with an option to pick a report type. On the left, there are 8 out-of-the-box scorecard reports that I could select from, including the red KPIs report I quickly reviewed earlier. On the right is an out-of-the-box initiatives report, along with 3 more advanced options that I'll review in more detail later. I'll select red KPIs report, and then before I select next, I'll make note of the fact that at the bottom is a guide that there is a 3-step process to create a report. The first of which is choose a type. I'll now click Next and see that the next step is to select scorecard item. On the left, I'll select Financial within the Mobile World organization. On the right, I can pick and choose which elements I want by expanding and collapsing. But I actually want everything, so I'll select Financial Profit and Loss and click Next. The last step is to select the calendar periods to display and choose the data to view. I'll start by changing to see 3 months of data on this report, so I'll switch from current period to 2 periods earlier on the left. And I'll leave current period on the right. The last step is to pick which columns I want to see. I'll remove description and owners from the report. And then I'll select Finish. Since I selected 3 months of activity, I am seeing all KPIs that contain a red value in any one of the 3 months that are displayed. Book revenue, for instance, displays since I have a red value in March, even though it was yellow in April and May. Since I'm liking how this is looking, I'll select Save in the bottom right. And then change the name of the report to maybe Red KPIs Report Training. And then click Save. If I had selected just current period, some of the KPIs would disappear. To prove that out, I'll select Edit towards the bottom. And then within the Row Filters section, I'll click on Color. I'll change the From to Current Period and then select Done. And then I'll make a similar change in the date range section by clicking on Edit and switching that to current period and selecting Finish. If I wanted to change the columns that appear on the report, I could click on Edit, add in those columns, and then select Next and Finish. But since I have no columns I want to add, I'll just select Cancel. To accept the change to the date range, I'll select Save in the bottom right. And then I'll click Done towards the bottom left. Notice that the report has gotten much smaller as just KPIs that are red in May now appear. Getting more confident in my report writing skills, I'll build a new report completely from scratch. To start, I'll select the new report icon once again. This time, from the Choose a Type dialog box, I'm going to select Report Writer on the right. And then I'll click Next. Under Choose Columns, I see that Name is the only column added by default. In the middle, I'll add Scoring Type. And on the right, I'll add in Color, maybe Score, KPI Value, and Goal. And then I'll select Next. For the time period, I'll leave the default of current period only and select Next. Lastly, for row filters, I'll select Add. From the drop-down, I see a long list of attributes to filter on. I'll select specific scorecard items and then click Next. On the left, I'll select the Financial Org, and on the right, I'll select Financial Profit and Loss Scorecard and click Add. That filter is now applied up at the top. An important item to note is that the default for Cascade in the top right is to include all the descendants of this scorecard item, which is the level selected and on down. If I were to deselect that, I would get a high-level report summarizing the entire financial profit and loss performance to just one row. Since that wouldn't be too fruitful, I'll leave the default and select Done, and then select Get Report. I now see a detailed performance of the entire financial profit and loss scorecard for the month of May. In the top right, I can toggle back and forward between months. I can get a better visual on color performance by hovering over one of the numbers. I could drill down to a particular item by clicking on the name. I can also sort the report by clicking on a column header like Score. And I'll see that there are a number of KPIs that are suffering with the score of 0. If I click on the column heading again, I can see results by descending score with my best performing KPIs at the top. If I click on the column a third time, I'll go back to the original unsorted view. I'll now click Save in the bottom right, and I'll just accept the default name there and click Save. If I don't like something on the report, I can select Edit either in the top right or the bottom left. To change the column selection or date range, I would click Edit in each of those two sections. To change the filter, I can click on the existing one to edit it, or click on the X in the top right to delete it. If I want to add a new filter that allows me to also see all my customer support items in addition to financial, I'll click Add. Once again, I'll select specific scorecard items and then click Next. I'll click Customer Support on the left and select Add next to Customer Help Desk on the right. If I didn't know anything about logical operators, I could merely click Done, Save, and then Done, and weep as I notice that I've completely broken my report. So I'll scurry back to Edit to figure out what went wrong. Under closer examination, I see that the default relationship between filters is AND. Unfortunately, there is no case where a scorecard item contains both financial and customer in the same row. To fix that, I'll need to introduce an OR by clicking on the second filter that I just added for Customer Help Desk. And down in the bottom left, I'll enable an option called Add to Existing Filter as an OR. I'll then click Done, and I'll confirm that the word OR now appears in the filter section. I'll then click Save and Done and verify that the customer support KPIs now display. With that fixed, I'd like to move on to one more report that allows me to do a mass edit, such as quickly changing the updater for a number of KPIs. To illustrate this, once again I'll select New Report, and then Report Writer, and select Next. Under Choose Columns, I'll add in Updaters and click Next. Under Current Filters, I'll select Add, select Specific Scorecard Items, and select Next. On the left, I'll select the Demo Org, and on the right, I'll select Financial and click Add. I'll select Done and Get Report to view it. I see that Frank Ziemba is the updater for all of the KPIs. If I'm feeling lazy and don't wish to be responsible for these KPIs any longer, on the bottom right, I'll select Mass Edit. An additional column appears on the left of the report. To select all the items, I'll click on the box in the top left. I'll then select at the bottom right, Edit Selected Items. From the drop-down, I'll start typing Updaters and then select it. Towards the bottom, within the Updaters section, I'll start looking for Tom Keating to kindly pass all this work over to him and select Save. So that's made the change. Now to visually get the satisfaction of seeing that Tom has been added, I do need to select Done in the bottom right. Once I click Done, I can confirm that the change has been made. Now if I want to be nice, I can go back to Mass Edit, select the top left box again, select Edit Selected Items, start typing Updaters, select it, and this time what I'll do is I'll switch to the option under Action to remove the following updaters. Once again, I'll select Tom, and to remove him, I'll select Save. Once again, that's made the change, but to visually confirm it, I'll click Done. An important thing to note is that Mass Edit is not intended to be saved. It's an ad hoc report that is leveraged to make some fundamental changes to the scorecard structure and then discard it. So in my case here, I'll just click on to a different report and then choose Don't Save. Okay, with that we are done with building reports. Unfortunately, there's no rest for the weary, as I still have a bunch of charts to build. I'll start by taking a quick look at a few charts already developed. The first one shows a 12-month trend of total gross profit as a line. The next one shows it as a bar. And the third one shows product revenue, training revenue, and book revenue as a pie. These are by far the most popular chart types, but if I was more adventurous, I could click Edit and take note under Graph that I have a number of other options. Stacked 100% bar, area, stacked area, donut, and polar chart are options available to me. Okay, once I'm ready to build a chart from scratch, once again I'll click the New Report option in the top left. This time I'll select Chart Writer and then click Next. For the periodicity, I see that it defaults to a full year. I'll keep that and I'll select Add Series. On the left, I'll select the demo organization. On the right, I'll expand it out and I'll select just the total gross profit KPI. Before selecting Done, on the bottom left, I'll note there is a series option that defaults to actual value. At the measure level, that can be changed to score, red flag, and goal. If I were to switch to a non-KPI, like the objective increase profit, I'll see that the only option available at that level is score, since the other values aren't applicable. So I'll switch back to total gross profit, leave actual value as the series, and I'll select Done. I'll leave all the other defaults, and I'll select Finish. If I like it, I'll select Finish or Save in the bottom right. I'll give it a name, and I'll just accept the default name. Maybe I'll put in the word training and click Save. At this point, I may want to change the display to include red, yellow, green background thresholds. To do so, I'll select Edit towards the bottom. And under background thresholds, I'll select total gross profit. And that will apply it. And then I'll click Save and then Done to see the change. I can now plainly see that total gross profit is performing in the green or yellow in each of the 13 months on display, except for May. Finding that pretty simple to do, I'm now going to tackle creating a combination bar and line chart with two KPIs. To do so, once again, I'll select New Report. I'll click Chart Writer again and click Next. I'll accept the default period and select Add Series. On the left, once again, I'll select Demo. And on the right, I'll select the total gross profit KPI. And then I'll select Done. To introduce another item, once again, I'll select Add Series. On the top left, I'll make note that I'm not locked into scorecard items. I could click on the Initiative tab and introduce something like Migrate Servers to Cloud. However, I'll just switch back to scorecard item, select Demo, and I'll select Total Gross Profit again. But this time in the bottom left, I'm going to switch that to Score. And I'll click Done. In the middle, I'm going to switch that graph to a bar. And on the right, to avoid a number scale conflict, I'll check Axis on Right. Lastly, I'll click Finish. I now see a combination graph that is charting actuals as a line and the normalized score as a bar. If I hover over a bar, I can see the values for both KPIs. The same information is available also in the table at the bottom. Having tackled both reports and charts, I'm now ready for the grand finale of leveraging SQL Console. To do so, I'll select a new report option once again, and then this time select SQL Console. In the SQL query window here, I'll type in some SQL, and I've already loaded it. Select first name, last name from users, or first name like Frank. And I'll click Finish, and I'll check to see if there's anybody else in the system with the same first name as me. Unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be, there is not. The SQL console can obviously be leveraged in a number of different ways, but for now, I'll leave it at that.